Hey, welcome back. It's time for Mac the Movie Guy watches another random movie. Um yeah, this is the first time through this movie. I'm a fan of Guillermo del Toro, so I always kind of knew that I was going to end up watching this film, even though when it first came out, it kind of wasn't well received, necessarily both at the box office and by critics. At least not by the standards that we usually hold Del Toro by. So I think that's why I didn't review it back in 2015. Why this is my first time watching it. So I'm John Stark, Mac the Movie Guy, and this is my review of Crimson Peak. Yep. It's that Guillermo del Toro film. This has audio description. I watched it on Netflix. It was done really well by Adrienne Barbeau. I'll give her props for that. At least what she's able to do. I realize that describing gore in horror films is a little bit of a struggle. I've noticed with watching horror films that the gore that I read online from like horror fans that will describe a scene or describe what somebody looks like or describe, like in this case, some of the ghosts and what they look like, because there are parents' guides and content advisories and stuff online when people go online and they're like, is this right for my kids? And it's like, what? Why are you showing your children Crimson Peak? But I guess we have to like literally describe each and every single little thing because, you might be okay with like some violence, but like really specific violence, you'll be like, no, I'm okay with people being dismembered, but I draw the line at decapitations. I had to make sure there were none in that film. Usually it's people who are more worried about the sex and nudity than they are the violence and gore, which blows my mind. I know that some of the ghosts in this film were at least described where I could find them in my research as being slightly more horrifying than they were actually described. But that's fine. I mean, like, I don't know, like how much detail are you gonna put? The ghost's eyeballs falling out, the jaws dislocated, and the teeth are like. How far do you really want to keep going for a ghost that is basically just a jump scare? So, I kind of give this film a pass because the ghosts are not like lingering. A lot of the ghosts in this film are there for thematic effect. They're there. They're there to just cause, which is kind of an interesting fact because Del Toro seems to make a statement at the beginning of the film with Mia Wachowska. I don't know, but Adrienne said her name in a way that I've never heard her name said, and now I really think I've been mispronouncing Mia Wachowska's film. It was like Wachowska? Mia's character. And she writes this book that's like a love story thing with ghosts in it, and like she's trying to explain people that the ghost is like representative of the past, and everybody's like, I don't understand it, and so like they don't want to publish it. They just want girls to write love stories, not ghost stories. But she's like fascinated by ghosts, and she's just like, well, it's not really like a ghost, it's like representative of things. And I'm like, well, so are you trying to say that these ghosts are not representative? Because I feel like these ghosts are very much just representative of thematic elements. Sort of like how the ghosts just sort of appear in House on Haunted Hill. Like they're there and they're like, hey, what's up? Yep, we're here to scare the crap out of you. That's what we do. We're trapped in this house. Nobody has set us free. And we're gonna make you die in this house with us. It kind of has that vibe, but less of the them trying to kill anybody, just more just them just trying to scare the crap out of people. Um, it's all right. It was all right. I mean, the acting is fine. It's none of these people are at the top of their game, if I'm being honest. I mean, I could list better performances from the top four leads: Mia, Jessica Chastain, Tom Hiddleston, and Charlie Hunnam. I could, easily put them all in better films. Obviously, I mean, Jessica Chastain just killed it in Eyes of Tammy Faye. Tom Hiddleston is like literally everything he's great in. It depends on what kind of Tom Hiddleston you're looking for. Are you looking for Loki Tom Hiddleston? Because he is great at that. Are you looking for Night Manager Tom Hiddleston? Are you looking for, like, what kind of Tom Hiddleston performance are you looking for? And as far as Charlie Hunnam goes, he's gonna have a hard time topping Jax on Sons of Anarchy. I think that's part of the reason why he's had a hard time breaking through, is because he can't shake Jax. But this is fine. It's very thematic. I know it's very gothic. It's very visual. I know we're missing out on that because this was a film that everybody really talked about, like the production design and the costume design and the visual elements. And Adrian does an attempt at capturing the look and feel of this film, which is really, it's not, I mean, like, I know everybody gave Crimson Peak props for that, but that's just really a Guillermo del Toro film. Nobody ever goes to a Guillermo del Toro film and goes, well, the visuals were pretty average, Like, he didn't really do anything visually. He just kind of, it'd be like Michael Bay doing a movie where nothing explodes. It's just never going to happen. Like, there's just some things that are linked to the director. Guillermo del Toro he plans all of his films intricately. So of course this film is heavily visually styled. The problem that I had with this film is that it's kind of dull. And it does things that I wish Guillermo del Toro would stray away from. I know what he was trying to do, a gothic love story, but he relies on jump scares a little bit too much on this film to reel it back into the horror genre, instead of just committing to a genre and believing that the film that he's created is strong enough to stand on its own without jump scares. And I think if we didn't have all of these damn ghosts floating around for thematic purposes to scare the living crap out of people, and they're not, by the way, they're not just drifting around in some sort of like creepy fashion where it just sort of happens to be. No, he knows what he's doing, because he scores the music and he edits it. It is an actual jump scare. He's going for jump scares. It's not just that the ghosts are horrifying and then that's what scares you. No, these are legitimate, jump scares just out of nowhere. And I'm like, you're better than that. That's why everybody loves you, is because you're better than that. Because you don't rely on that. Because your films are not about that. Your films are so thematically perfect that but this one, for some reason, he was like, you know what? I'm going to do some jump scares. And I was like, you know what? Fuck you. This is not your best film. This is just not, it's like Michael Bay doing a film being like, you know what? I'm going to see what happens when something doesn't blow up. And it's like, all right, but what? Like, why would you do that? It's literally the one thing you're good at. And the one thing that Del Toro is good at is creating ambiance. Everything is ambiance for him. God, Pan's Labyrinth is beautifully wicked and just sheer. It's horrific. it's ambiance, it's the way that he sets up the characters, the in both worlds, you know. It's everything. And even the way that he transitions into his more accessible fare, like Hellboy, it's still the way the film looks and feels. There's a certain thing that Del Toro brings to all of his projects. And with this, he brought it, but then he kind of messed it up. Like, he kind of let, like, Sam Raimi come in here and just go, you know what you're missing, dude? You're missing some jump scares. Let's get you in on that. Let me show you how to do that. What you got to do is you got to get something that looks really crazy, and you just kind of hide it. And then you build. What you do is you drop the music out so it gets really quiet. And then, like, you just get really loud. And then, like, you show somebody an image that is at least moderately horrifying. And it will scare the living shit out of your audience. And they'll love it. And the truth is, most people don't love jump scares. They kind of hate them because they're cheap. So this kind of, this is not a Del Toro film for me because he's not a cheap director. This is a guy with a Best Picture winner, Shape of Water, and another Best Picture nominee with Nightmare Alley. So what the hell? Like, why? And by the way, I fully believe that if Pan's Labyrinth had been released in a year where we had 10 nominees, Pan's Labyrinth would be a Best Picture nominee. So he would have at least 3 Best Picture nominations. But unfortunately, this would never have been one of them. I can appreciate a lot of what he put into it. The TLC is there. The performances are all right. I kind of never was surprised by this film other than the jump scares. I kind of always knew where it was going. It never twisted, like all of the things that at the start it thought it was twisting, were not really twists for me. I was never like, ooh. I mean, does anybody watch this film and go, ooh, I bet Jessica Chastain's good. I bet she's on the good side. I bet this is going to work out well for Jessica Chastain and Mia Wachowski. Like, no. I don't think there's anybody who thought Jessica Chastain was going to be like the hero of the story. So, I kind of, when she was introduced, I was like, all right, well, something's going to be up with her. Maybe the most surprising thing was just how a certain character dies. I was like, oh, that's extreme. That's really violent. And then the person who turns out to do it, I was like, oh, damn, she's got that kind of force with her. Oh, all right. That was maybe like the only thing where I was like, shit, okay. I don't know that makes entirely a lot of sense, and it kind of feels out of place in this movie. But hey, you know what? By all means, do you. Yeah, this movie's kind of a little all over the place. I don't know. Maybe Del Toro didn't really know what he was doing. Maybe he had too many projects going on at the same time. He does get really heavily involved in like 1,000 different things. So I think he's like producing like Troll Hunters for Netflix or something. But he's got, tons of things going on. He's like Taika Waititi. Like they for some reason just can't stop working. But this has every reason to be at the bottom of Del Toro's list. I'm sorry. I mean, I know this film has fans, and I get it. I can totally see why. And I mean, I know that I'm besmirching this film, but I don't mean to like say that you can't love Crimson Peak. I would just as well have a conversation with somebody who was like, Crimson Peak is the best Del Toro film, and here's why. I'd be like, oh, cool. You just listed all the reasons why you like Crimson Peak the best. Because you probably like different things out of Del Toro and you see different things in his films. For me, Del Toro has always been somebody who has managed to capture horror without capturing the cheap elements of horror. And that's what makes him a master of what it is that he's doing, because he really understands the macabre, He knows what goes bump in the night. And he's not telling, but he's gonna put that on camera. Um, yeah, it's okay. So I was a little disappointed. I kind of wanted this to be better than it was. I didn't expect it to be, for me to dislike it this much compared to his other films, because like I said, I'm a Del Toro fan, and there isn't a film of his that I would just give straight up thumbs down to. And this one I'm still not giving like just a really bad grade. It's just I kind of expected it to have, for me to feel at least a little bit better about it. But it's all right. It's okay. I don't ever need to see it again. So, all that being said, I'm going to give Crimson Peak a C+. That's where I think that's at. I know some people are going to go back and look at my reviews and they're going to be like, you gave like an Adam Sandler movie like a, what is, how did you rate? And I'm just going to be like, listen, I love Del Toro. I think most directors at some point in their career, they're going to have a film that's going to be at the bottom. They just are. I mean, like, there's at least one Spielberg film that I don't like. You know, there's one Nolan film that I don't like. There's probably at least a Scorsese film that I don't like. So, I mean, like, every director has put a film out that I'm just either like meh on, you know? I would say meh more than don't like, you know? I mean, I'm just like, eh. And Crimson Peak is now that for Del Toro, because I didn't actually have one before that. I didn't really have a Del Toro fan film where I was like, eh. I guess like Pacific Rim was probably the closest. Pacific Rim, if I had to rank his films, that probably would have been at the bottom for me. But now Crimson Peak holds that title. Let me know what you think in the comments. Throw me a like and a subscribe. You can check out more reviews at macthemovieguy.com. You can go to the audio description project and see what has audio description and where you can watch it. And also the adna.org will let you know what other films Adrienne Barbeau has narrated. That's going to be it for me today. If you enjoy gothic horror and you don't mind some jump scares and a good ghost story, Crimson Peak might be for you. Enjoy. Or don't. It's entirely up to you.